All right, I think we're going to get started now. Hope everyone's having a great day. My name is Brian Cervino. I'm the Community Manager at Trello, and I'm joined today by our support superstar, Michelle Earhart. So today's topic is getting started with Trello. We'll be covering a lot of materials, so if you ever want to go back and reference any of the points made in this webinar, you can check out our Getting Started guide at trello.com/guide. Before we get started, I just want to let you know everyone on the line is on mute. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please type them into the GoToWebinar question box, and Michelle and I will be addressing them at the end of the webinar. Also, I want to let you know that I'll be recording today's webinar, and we'll email copies of it to all attendees. So during this webinar, I'll cover Trello board basics, creating a new Trello board, collaboration, essential Trello features, and a few Trello tips and tricks along the way. I'd like to get started by showing you a Trello board that has already been created, which is a board I'm using to plan a trip to Hawaii with my friends. As you can see, this board is made up of lists, and each list has cards added to them. So cards can represent tasks, and you can click on cards to open them up and get more detailed information about those tasks. Cards can also be moved across lists as tasks progress from start to finish. And lists can also act as repositories of information. So for instance, as you see on this board, there are lists for places to eat and sites to see. And my friends and I can add cards to these lists and come up with a plan for our vacation. And so the goal of this webinar really is to teach you how to create a Trello board with your friends, family, or colleagues to kind of organize projects for both in and out of work. So I'm going to start by creating a new board. So to create a new board, click the plus sign in the top right corner of Trello and name the board after the project that you're organizing. Since I love to throw dinner parties, I'm going to name this board Dinner Party. So a new Trello board is kind of like an empty canvas that can be really customized to your workflow. I'm going to start by adding some lists to my board. So to-do list, doing list, done list, and these will kind of manage my task flow from start to finish. And then a menu list to organize the food and drinks for the party. And of course, lists can also always be reorganized by dragging and dropping them into place. Maybe if your workflow changes. And of course, you can always rename a list. So next I'm going to add cards to my lists for tasks that I need to do before my party. So if you've already started making a list in another app, you can simply copy that list and paste it into a new Trello card. So I could just, if I've already started a list here, I can just copy this. And what Trello will do is give you the option to create a new card from each line separated item. So this is kind of like a really handy time saver. I'm also going to just create some cards manually on my dinner menu list. And cards can always be rearranged as you see fit on your list by dragging and dropping them into order. So now I'm going to invite some of my friends who volunteer to help out with this party to my board. So this way I can assign them to tasks and keep track of what tasks are done and what still need to be taken care of. And so to add someone to your Trello board, click the Add Members button, and you can either enter their name, email address, or username and select them from the list. So I can have my friend Amy, can have my friend Andre, and also my friend Claire is not a member of Trello yet, so I can invite Claire by email and send the invite. And now when Claire signs up for Trello, Trello.com. There we go. Now when Claire signs up for Trello, she'll automatically be able to start collaborating on my project. And so I just really want to take a quick moment to talk about board membership permissions. So when you create a new Trello board, you are by default the admin for the board. And you can see by this kind of chevron logo right here that I'm pointing at. This allows you to change the settings for the board, close the board, change the board's background, etc. And by default, any new member you add to the board will have normal permissions. So as you can see, Amy has normal permissions. You can give another board member admin permissions by clicking their avatar and then changing it to admin. So we like to recommend always having a second board admin or more if you feel comfortable with that, just in case the original admin drops off the project and administrative decisions need to be made. So now this way, if I'm unable to do something administratively on the board, Amy will be able to step in and help out. So my friends added to the board, I'm going to start delegating some tasks. And so to do so, I can drag and drop avatars from the sidebar onto cards. So I'm going to add a few people to cards. As you see, I can even add Claire to cards, even though she's not yet signed up for Trello. But when she does sign up and she accesses this board, she'll see what task she's been assigned. One neat shortcut is you can quickly assign yourself to cards by hovering your mouse over a card and just tapping the space bar. Then you can tap space bar again to remove yourself. I can also open up a card by clicking on it and add members from the sidebar here. So I can add Andre to this card. So when someone is added to a card, they will receive a notification within Trello and by email. If you're added to a card, you'll also receive notifications for updates to the card, such as if the card is moved to a different list or for an approaching due date on the card. And speaking of notifications, you can also notify someone on a card by mentioning them in a comment. And so, commenting on cards is a great way to provide feedback and get information from someone. But mentioning someone is really helpful for when you want to loop someone else into the progress of your card, ask for feedback, or just say something nice. So I'm going to mention you are great at making playlists. That's why I assigned him to the task. So let me give you a little bit more of an in-depth tour of the card back and demonstrate some of its features. So to add more detailed information about a task, you can edit the card's description. So I don't want to take up too much time, but right now I'm just going to show you to add a quick description into a card. So since I'm just going to make a little note to the present and future me about cleaning the house. Of course, you can add as much as you want, and you can also use formatting, markdown formatting to add more stylized text, such as bullets, bullet lists, etc. And once again, you can see that information in the formatting help if you want to add more formatting. So since cleaning my house is going to require multiple steps, I'm going to create a checklist to keep track of what's been done and what still needs cleaning. So you can rename this. I'm going to call this chores. And I can just add in items here. Sweep, dust, garbage, and recycling. And so as items get completed, I can check them off my checklist. Or if I need to redo something, I can uncheck it. Something that's pretty cool is that just as how you can create a set of Trello cards by copying and pasting a list into a new Trello card, the same applies for checklist items. So I'm going to go over to my dinner menu card real quick. And I had kind of made a list of what I want to serve at this dinner party, my barbecue. So I can quickly just copy and paste this right into a checklist. There we go. And Trello is going to automatically create checklist items based on line break items. So since I need to make sure my house is clean before my party, I'm going to assign a due date to the card. And so what I can do is just click due date. And let's see, my party is on March 19th. So I'm going to set the due date for this to make sure my house is clean for March 18th. You can change the time and everything. Save that. Now I can see right here when that's due. And I can click to change that if I want. And basically, by assigning a due date to a card, Trello will send me a notification. Any members of the card or anyone who is subscribed to the card will get a notification 24 hours before this card is due as a reminder. If you want to add due dates to cards really quickly, you can mouse over a card and press the D key. So we need the barbecue supplies by the time of the party. I check the propane grill a little bit before the party. Music playlist. I want to have that for my St. Patrick's Day party as well. The guest list. We need that done ASAP. And so I can quickly add due dates to cards. So I know a lot of my friends have really busy lives. And so it's really important that I finalize my guest list ASAP. So I'm going to move this card over to doing list. And this way, everyone on the board knows that Andre and I are working on this task. Everyone can quickly now see in one single glance what's being worked on and by whom. And also, by moving this card over, Andre gets a notification that I moved it over to doing and that we should start working on it. So since I already started making a guest list in my Notes app, I'm going to attach that to the card. Trello lets you attach files from your computer or from popular cloud storage options. So I'm just going to show you, attach this from my computer real quick. Now I can attach that. To be honest, a better option could even be attaching, if I created a Google Drive doc, I could then attach that to this card, and Andre and I could work on it together. So for instance, in my party to-dos, I can now add a new column. Mention Andre. And now both of us can collaborate together, jump right into this document, and add guest lists, work on our menu, etc. If we choose to do it that way. We could also make a checklist of friends we want to invite, whatever workflow works best for you. So one neat trick, though, is that you can drag files onto a Trello card to upload and attach them. So I can also just simply drag and drop this. And as you see now, there's 2 copies. Of course, if I wanted to remove one, I could just delete it. That will permanently delete it from the card. And what's really cool is if I drag and drop an image onto a card, it can be displayed as a card cover, which kind of adds some more visual appeal to your board. I'm all about making my work and tasks fun, and so I like to add, fun stuff like pictures, etc. Going back to this card, labels are really useful and can be created and applied to cards. And these are a great way to not only provide additional visual data to cards, but they can act as tags for filtering cards on a board, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. And so you can create and apply a label by opening a card and clicking the label button. Labels can also be named for easier reference. So I'm going to create a couple labels right now. So I'm going to create one for household. And of course, you could select the color you want. And I'm going to create one for shopping. So I can apply a label just by simply clicking on it. So since this is a household chore, cleaning my house, I'm going to apply the green household label. Of course, you can apply as many labels as you want to cards. And one really neat thing is that you can actually go through and quickly apply labels to cards by using, every label has an associated hotkey, numbers 1 through 9 and 0. And so I can go through and just mouse over cards and quickly apply labels to cards. Which is great because now everyone can see, what is a household chore or a shopping chore. So now that we've got some of the card basics down, I want to go in depth a little more into some essential kind of Trello features. Many of these features are located in the board sidebar, including general board and permission settings, such as associating your board with a team, enabling card covers, commenting permissions, invitation permissions, etc. Maybe I only want admins to be able to invite people to boards, rather, having all members. And, depending on who I want to allow to comment on cards, can all be set here. So as I mentioned earlier, filtering cards on a board is a handy way to get a more granular perspective on cards. And so I can easily filter for my household labels to quickly see the status of those tasks, or my shopping labels, etc. It's also possible to filter by cards assigned to board members and due dates. So no cards due in the next week, but a bunch of cards due in the next month. I can also assign, by putting these together, so I could see my cards, which household ones do I have, or do I have any shopping chores? I have none. And I can view this for other members of the board, see which ones I have and Amy has, etc. So that's just a really handy way to quickly drum up information, and see it at a glance, information that's relevant to what you're assigned and what you're working on. So Powerups are ways to add extra functionality and visualization to your board. And so every Trello account comes with 3 Powerups. The calendar Powerup, card aging Powerup, and the voting Powerup. And so card aging kind of gives cards, as they go untouched, a more faded out look, or a look that kind of actually makes it look like an old torn up Pirates map. And that's really good, if you want to see maybe what tasks might have slipped through the cracks, and maybe you want to give someone a friendly reminder that they should be working on that. Or maybe just, to learn about tasks that are kind of irrelevant, and maybe you just want to not consider them to be a part of your process or your project anymore. So the voting Powerup allows users to be able to upvote cards. So maybe you want to poll people for opinions. Maybe on my Hawaii planning board, I want to see what everyone wants to do, all my friends, so I can ask them to vote on a card that for the activities they want to do most, and then we can get a general consensus on what we want to do on our trip. Product related, if you have a board that you're sharing with your user community, you could ask your user community to vote on features they'd like to see, or even, in office, when planning office events, you can get feedback from your team. One really cool Powerup, one of my favorites, is the calendar Powerup, which arranges all of your cards with due dates into a calendar view. So I'm going to enable this, and as you see, I could click up here, and now I can see where all my cards are laid out in a calendar view, and I can view it by month or by week. And I can also drag and drop cards in the calendar to any date, and the due date will automatically be updated on the back of the Trello card. So if I want to have this due on the 9th now, or let's say the 11th, now my card's updated and I'll get a notification 24 hours before on the 10th. Just an easy, convenient way to change due dates, more visual way of doing it. So also every board has a unique iCalendar feed, which can be enabled and imported to any third-party calendar that accepts iCalendar feeds, like Google Calendar, Apple's Calendar, Sunrise, and many more, Outlook, etc. And so you can just kind of copy this link and import it right into any third-party calendar, and you can do that for all your boards if you want to see all your assigned or all your cards with due dates, maybe in one convenient location with other tasks, work-related tasks or meetings, etc. So with Trello Business Class, you also get a suite of additional Powerups that allow you to integrate your favorite apps right into your Trello workflow, such as Google Docs, GitHub, Slack, Salesforce, Zendesk, etc. So boards can be personalized with board backgrounds. All accounts come with some basic colors, as you can see here. And if you have Trello Gold or Business Class, you can get more background options, such as these, or the ability to add your own custom backgrounds. So I'm going to set my background to this cutting board looking one. I also want to quickly mention that you can always earn free Trello Gold by going to Trello.com/recommend. And anytime you invite someone to Trello when they sign up, a new user, you'll get a free month of Trello Gold, which is pretty fun. There's some other cool features, Trello Gold, such as every account comes with the basic sticker pack, but you can also get additional stickers and the ability to upload your own. And really, stickers are kind of just a fun way to add visual data to your boards. Maybe just say, good job. And you can just take these and drag them right onto a card to add them to a card. Trello Gold also gives you 250 megabyte attachments, as well as custom emoji and saved searches. And those are also included in business class with then all the business class features, such as the Powerups and the Teams pages. So one helpful way to stay on top of progress on a board is by subscribing to boards, lists, and cards. So when you're added to or add yourself to a card, you're automatically subscribed to that card. And as I said, you get notifications for card movements, comments, etc. You can also just subscribe to a card that even you're not a member of by just clicking the subscribe button. So if you'd like to get updates for all actions on a board, then you can subscribe to the board, which is in the board's menu. And now any action that applies to card notifications will also, you'll get that for any card on the board, whether or not you're a member or not. The same also applies to lists. Sometimes I like to subscribe to the done list on a board, just so that I get an idea of when tasks are getting completed. So for instance, if one of my team members dragged a card over to done, it would give me a notification, and I'd just be aware that that task was completed. So if you have workflows or tasks that you tend to repeat often, then the ability to copy cards, lists, and boards might be appealing. So it's really easy to copy a card. Just open it up and click copy. And you could choose if you want to change the title. Just for demo's sake, I'm going to put copy in here. If I want to keep the labels, if there were attachments or comments, I keep those. And I can also pick the board I want to send it to. So maybe I want to just move this card, I want to copy this card and have a copy of that card on a different board. Maybe this is like a template that I'm working off of. I can assign that and move it to a different board. You can also pick the list and the position on the board you copy it to. So if I hit create card, as you can see, it makes a copy of that card with my list and everything there. You can also then copy lists. It'll copy all those cards as well. I'm going to archive this list so it's not distracting. And you can copy boards. One way that we use the copy board feature at Trello is for our new employee onboarding board. So every new employee gets their own copy of this board, which is all the resources that they need to get up and running at Trello and get to know the rest of the team. And so what I can do is if I add a new hire, I can go in, copy this board, new hire, onboarding, and I'm going to name it for Tom, our new hire. And I could pick the team, Tacos team. I can also set whether or not the board will be private, team visible, or public. Since it's just for Tom and the people working on it with him, I'm going to make it a private board. And now I could create that board. Since there's a lot of cards on the board, it's going to take a moment to copy. But as you can see, now it's Tom's onboarding board. And I can add our new hire Tom and any managers right to this board, and this way kind of makes the first day a little easier. So that's one cool way that we like to use the copy board function here at Trello. So just a bit on notifications. Trello, if you get a notification, Trello will send you notifications both in the app, by email, and if you have mobile apps downloaded and installed on your iOS or Android devices, then you'd get push notifications in your mobile app if that's enabled. You can change your notification email preferences on your account settings page. So I'm just gonna open a new tab here so I don't lose the board. And so I can change the notification email frequency. If I don't want to receive any notification emails, or if I want to get them periodically or instantly. And this is also where you can allow desktop notifications if you'd like to receive desktop notifications. So when you receive a notification in the app, the notification icon in the top right corner of Trello will turn red. And if you are notified about a specific card, a red notification badge would appear on the card itself on that board. So you'll always receive notifications for if you're mentioned in a comment added to a card, a board, or a team, if you're mentioned in a checklist item, if a board you're a member of is closed, and when someone makes you an admin of a board or a team. So as you can see, here's a bunch of notifications I've received for a bunch of cards coming due. If you're subscribed to a card, you'll also receive notification, in the same way as mentioned earlier, as well as if the card is moved or archived. And as I mentioned earlier, you'd get notifications like this via the red notification badge for any subscribed lists or boards. And if anyone creates a new card on a list you're subscribed to or a board you're subscribed to, you would get a notification as well. So those are kind of like really some of the, I'd say, the core Trello features as far as getting your board up and running. There's also, I guess, quickly want to mention, you can move cards to any board. So if you don't want to copy a card, you just want to move it, you can do it from there. And also, it's really easy to archive cards. Archiving a card just kind of removes it from the board, but doesn't delete it, so it can always be accessed again later. So if I archive this card, I can go to this board's archive, and I can always view this card. As you can see, it's archived, and maybe this is a task that I want to bring back to the board. Maybe we thought we weren't going to do this, but now we're like, oh, we're gonna actually implement this task. So I'm going to send this back to the board. Real easy. The same applies to lists. That list I archived earlier, I can always send it back to the board. And then if I want to re-archive it, simply re-archive it. But it's always still accessible and it's always still there. So one really cool thing, I know I showed you some shortcuts. We actually have a lot of great keyboard shortcuts in Trello that'll really help you boost your productivity. And so you can just hit the question mark key on a board, and you can get a menu of all the different keyboard shortcuts that exist. I'm not going to go through all these now because it would take a bit of time, but you can really perform a lot of actions just by using keyboard shortcuts. So each board also has a unique email address that can be used to create new Trello cards via email. So not only would this be great for keeping track of my RSVPs on my board when guests respond to my invite, but this could be really helpful for sales teams looking for a way to track leads, or for HR teams to funnel candidate leads into a hiring process. And so what I can do is I could copy this email address, my unique email address, and maybe set up a default forwarding, for anytime someone fills out a form or, maybe responds to an email with a certain label. And I can assign what list I want that card created via email to appear on and where I want it to appear on the list. One other thing is if you're maybe doing bug tracking, you have, customer support cases that are coming in. Maybe you'd want to have customer support cases forward to this email address, which would then create maybe a bug list or an incoming bug list on your Trello board. There's a lot of different ways that it could be used. Get creative. And if you ever want to view all of your assigned cards from all your boards in one place, I check out the My Cards page, which can be accessed from the Trello menu as well. So you can sort your cards either by board, as you can see, different boards that I'm on, or by due date. And then I can click on a card to go right to that board. So as I mentioned earlier, Trello has apps available on iOS and Android. So you can organize and collaborate, with your team from anywhere. Finally, I want to share some places where you can connect with us online. If you're ever looking for a little Trello board inspiration, check out trello.com/inspiration, where we have curated examples of different Trello workflows for both business and life from the Trello community and really from our own very own internal Trello boards. This is really cool. There's blog links, blog articles associated. You can link out to them. And really, you could just go right into a board. And if you like the template, you can copy that board and build your own board based on some of these templates. We also have a blog located at blog.trello.com, which features updates, tips, and articles about productivity, tech, and more. So you can bring your favorite apps into your Trello workflow and customize your boards with our integrations page. So here we have a whole selection of third-party integrations and our own Powerups that can be added to your Trello workflow, such as browser extensions, add-ons, Chrome extensions, etc. And you could search for them. So if you want time tracking, we could see the various time tracking plugins that can be added to your workflow. If you're using Trello within a company or team, I'd recommend checking out Trello Business Class for additional Trello features, integrations, and administrative controls. As I mentioned, we have a whole Powerups platform and the ability to even build your own Powerups into Trello, as well as a whole bunch of other great features. Going back to my slides really quick. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and other social networks for updates on tips, updates, product updates, and shared content from the Trello community. And so that kind of wraps up my basic presentation here. I want to get the Q&A session going in just a moment. So if you have any questions, you can enter those into the GoToWebinar box, and Michelle and I are going to address as many as possible with the remaining time. I also want to let you know if you have to leave the webinar now and have questions, or if you'd rather ask your questions in private, feel free to email us at support@trello.com, and we'll be glad to answer them for you. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, I've been recording this presentation, and I will be emailing out a copy to everyone within the next day. You'll get a copy of this webinar. You can also always go to trello.com/webinars for upcoming Trello webinars. And we also have all of them available on demand. For instance, if you're more curious about Trello Business Class or to see some of the Powerups in action, you can just watch one of these on-demand webinars at any time. Anyway, I'm going to go back to this board that we created and get the Q&A session going. And Michelle, if you want to hop on the line.
Hey, hi, Brian.
Hey, Michelle. Michelle's probably been answering a bunch of your questions in the background while I've been presenting. So let's see. Let's hop right in. First question here is, how do I add images to card? I think cover that, but let me just reiterate once again. So first of all, in your board settings, by default, card covers are enabled. But I can add I can attach something from my computer. Let's go with this image again. Well, let's change it up. I'll go with the Trello logo, which would be a very interesting snack. And as you can see, I can attach it like that, and it displays as a card cover. And once again, I also just drag and drop an image right on. If you want to get kind of fun, if you can attach animated GIFs to cards, and as long as it's, I believe, less than 300 pixels wide, it'll actually display as an animated GIF on your card, which is always really cool. Let's see. Oh, this is a great question about Powerups. Someone asked, does each member need to enable the calendar Powerup? Nope. With Powerups, when a Powerup is enabled, it's enabled across the entire board. So anyone that is on the board will be able to see the power up. That actually goes, I should be more specific. That goes for all of these power ups. If you have a Trello business class and you have team members on your board, they will be able to see all of the business class power ups in action and see all the data pulled in. However, if you have members of your board who are not a part of your business class team, they wouldn't be able to interact with the power ups in the same way. So the data would not be displayed for them. So would you say that covers that, Michelle?
Sounds about right.
And then the same applies for backgrounds. Backgrounds are anyone who's on this board will see the background. Kind of keeps it uniform. Sometimes people like to use backgrounds to maybe help categorize boards. Maybe all my marketing team boards might have green backgrounds, or so we keep it consistent across all the members of the board. Let's see. Talk more about links, such as inviting third-party people. Is that trying to see exactly. So if you want to invite, I'm guessing this is about inviting someone to a board. You can,
Yeah,
like
I'm
I
not
said,
sure, but I
what is
think
it?
so. I'm not sure, but I think just invitation links
Oh
and
yeah,
just how to invite who doesn't have a Trello account.
yeah. So one thing that's actually really neat is, aside from typing in someone's email address here, or their username, if someone is not a member of Trello yet, or even if they are a member, we actually recently added invite links to boards, and this is kind of in beta right now. But this is a unique link that I can give to anybody. Of course, since I'm a member of this board, this won't work. But I can give this. Let me see if I can actually pull in a tab from that's not incognito. Okay. So as you see, I can send this to anybody that I want to invite to my board, and they can click join. And now there's 2 of me on the board. But it's an easy way to add people board. One really cool thing is, I don't know, maybe use like Slack or something. You can just drop this link right in a Slack channel. Maybe you have a new project that you're creating a board for, and you could just drop it right into your Slack channel and tell everyone that you're working with, everyone on your team, hey, I created the board, join the board, and everyone can just simply click right through, saves you a ton of time. You don't have to go inviting everyone individually or anything. If your board is a member of a team, you can also quickly invite team members to boards, which I can demonstrate really quickly. So I'm going to make this part of Taco's team. And I can make the board team visible. And now any of my team members can easily be added. I can also easily add all team members in one click. So there's just a couple extra ways to add people to boards. Going a little deeper. Someone asked if you can move cards from one board to another. Yep, just showed you that. Well, let me demo it again just in case you missed that out. I missed out on that. You can open a card and click move and pick the board that you want to move it to. Let's see. So I can just pick any board here. My household board. Pick the list, and then I can move it over there. And then let me see if I can demo it. Here's my household board. And as you can see, the card was moved over here. And we see that I transferred this card from the dinner party board, just so that it's on the card back, so you can always reference that later. I also want to see how to close boards. Yeah. So as an admin of a board, maybe a project's done and it's time to close the board. You can just go to the board menu and click close board. No one on the board now will be able to access it anymore. And only admins can reopen a board. So you can, there's the link right here, but if you close the tab on the board, which you probably would over time, you can always see all your closed boards by going into the boards menu, clicking see closed boards. And then as the admin, I can reopen it. Once again, only admins of boards can close and reopen boards. Let's see. So can you explain the differences, pros, cons between subscribing to a board versus subscribing to individual lists. Michelle, you have some great ideas on board best practices. Do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, totally. So a lot of times when someone's subscribing to a board, I mean, you're just going to get a lot more noise because every time someone moves a card on the board, every time someone joins the board or makes a comment or whatever, you're going to get all of this information. A lot of times, if someone is particularly responsible for a board, so say you're the project manager, you're making sure stuff doesn't fall through the cracks, or perhaps you're just a manager or you just want to keep an eye on what this team is doing or what changes happen. You might subscribe to an entire board, whereas subscribing to just one list means you're only going to get information on the cards on that list. So, say taking this dinner party board, maybe I'd only stay subscribed to do, so I can say, oh yeah, like no one's cleaned the house yet. I'm just going to keep an eye on that. But once someone claims that and moves it to doing, I'll no longer get any notifications on those cards. And so, someone says, I'm going to send out invites. They're already taking care of it. It's off of my plate. I don't need to stay subscribed in that particular case.
That's right. That's a
Hopefully
great
that
point.
helps.
If you're subscribed to the to-do list, and you're not, a member of the card, you'll get a notification when someone moves it to doing, and so you'll be notified that someone's actually starting to work on that task. That's a really good point. So let's see. Do power-ups work only on one board or across multiple boards? Power-ups are board specific. So as you can see, I just moved this over to my business class team. Now I have all the business class power-ups, which once again, if you'd like to see those in action, I recommend checking out one of our on-demand webinars. But yeah, these are going to be enabled just for this board. If I would then want to enable them on different boards as well. Because depending on different needs of different boards, you might not need every single power up enabled. For instance, maybe on a developer board, I might want the FogBugs power up for bug tracking. But on an editorial calendar board, I might want the Evernote power up enabled for for organizing my blog post articles. So let's see. Someone asks, so cards are tasks and boards are like a
That's the
so
big question.
boards can really be anything you want. I mean, to be no boards. I would consider if cards are tasks, maybe the board is like the project. The board might be the bigger picture goal. So if the idea here in this demo is that at the end, by March 19th, I want to throw a dinner party. The board is all about making sure that that dinner party happens. And these are tasks for steps that get me towards making sure that I have the most awesome dinner party ever. Replace that with maybe you're building a website, or maybe you're managing blog content, or you're going to launch a new product. So really, I consider the cards as steps along the way. But of course, like I said earlier, you can also have cards that might just hold some data and information. Um, I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, I guess once again, if you head over to the inspiration pages, I'll send that to everyone just so you have the link. Yeah, that you can just get a sense of a ton of different boards, and some of them are like company handbook, and it's just information. Some of them show processes like the dinner party. Just like there's a whole lot of options out there.
Yeah. Let's see. Michelle, you made a note here about creating a checklist. Oh, copy items from another checklist?
Yeah, we've had a couple questions on that.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a really great question. So let's say, just for example, uh, cleaning part 2. Let's say I have another card. Um, if you have a checklist on a board, you can copy items from any other checklist on the board really quickly and easily. This is great for anytime you have maybe a template card um, that you want to just have a repetitive process, steps that you're going to take all the time. You can simply just copy. You can set up a card. This card could act as my template card with a maybe a step process. Maybe every time I'm sending out a newsletter, um, I want to make sure I go through certain steps, or every time I bug test something, I want to go through certain steps. So I could build a checklist on this card that acts as my template card. And then every time I go to put out the newsletter, I can go to my checklist and, copy items from my, the checklist that illustrates those steps. So it's just one of those little handy time savers. Let's see. Where do, sorry to laugh. Where do archived boards go? I feel like it's like a very philosophical question. Um, that's a great question. Well, they kind of just, I mean, we don't delete them. We don't erase them. They're just kind of, um, we just want to take them out of, you know, your visual, like maybe, if you're on your Trello boards page and you have a ton of boards you're not using anymore, it might be distracting. So maybe you want to close the board. So which, it's just an easy way to remove from there. Or if, you're just kind of done with that project, it's just a way to get rid of it. Get it out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
we don't delete closed boards because, if you ever need that board in the future, it's really important that you could access that information.
Yeah. I guess, did you bring up the like how to open a closed board
Yep.
in the menu or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. In
Awesome.
the
Yeah.
sidebar. Yeah. So see, when you archive cards, where do they go? Can you create an archive board and move the done cards? Um, that's an interesting question. So archive cards are associated with the board, and as I mentioned earlier, if I archive some cards here, they're all right here, and they're going to be in the board's archive. So archive cards stay within the board. This way, since these cards are associated with the board, you can always open them up and send them back to the board if you want. Of course, you can always search for archive cards, and the same applies to lists. So um, you could, I guess, technically create an entire board for cards that are completed, if that's what you're looking for, and move cards there when you're done. Maybe that's totally feasible. Maybe you want to have let's say I'm going to create a done board just to illustrate this example of the question here about can you create an archive board and move done cards there. So let's say this card is done. Maybe I want to keep a weekly list, let's say hypothetically. So Feb 15th, and have one location between all my projects where I can quickly see what's been completed across all the boards. You could set up a system where people could move cards from done over to, where's my done board? Here we go. And you can pick the week you want and move it there. And you can move it there real quickly. The other thing is if you have a bunch of cards on a board and you want to do it real quick, you can move all the cards in this list. Oh, sorry, it's not to a different board. My bad. You'd have to do it individually. So yeah, but that's one way you can do that is just selecting that and then moving to the dumb board. I could see that'd be kind of neat. You can easily see exactly everything that's been accomplished across all your boards if that's the workflow you want to do. The only thing that I would say about that, I'd worry, is that you're moving cards off this board, and so they become detached from the project that you're working on, and you might lose some perspective on how they were related to the original project if they're now on this board. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you have any follow-ups there. I just want to make sure that's what you were getting at. Let's see, someone asked, do you have a limit of boards or cards? No, so there's no limit to the amount of boards you can create with a free account. And there's no real limit to the amount of cards you could have open on a board. But we will say that if you have like 1,000 cards on a board that are open, you're probably going to notice some performance issues. We definitely recommend archiving cards, once you're getting into the hundreds and hundreds of cards. Wouldn't you say, Michelle?
Yeah, definitely. Either just splitting it into smaller boards, or it is just gonna make everything run a lot smoother.
Yeah, yeah, totally. We've seen some really large boards that have had like thousands of cards, and it's yeah, it takes a long time to load.
It does.
So let's see, what's the decision criteria to have one board with a large number of cards versus multiple boards with a smaller number of cards per board? For instance, multiple projects that are happening concurrently with one another, all projects within the same functional domain. So that's really, I guess, up to you. Really up to you how your team works best. I'll tell you, I work on the marketing team here at Trello, and we like to create a new board for every project, and then so it just kind of keeps it separated. This way we don't get distracted by by other tasks. I can go to a board and focus on just those tasks for that project. What we do have is we have one giant marketing board that has kind of everything we're working on, and then the boards linked to it. Let me see. I could probably let me see if I can share this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just trying
I've
to find it
definitely
because
noticed,
oh yeah.
having a lot of cards on one board, once again, can slow things down. But if you don't have too much going on, and say, maybe you're scheduling out blog posts, but you're also scheduling tweets, or you're scheduling a bunch of things, and they're the same kind of project, but maybe they're divided by the author or divided by topic. If it's not too much stuff, then what you might want to do is assign labels to those cards to keep them separate, and then you can filter the same board to get sort of a bunch of different views of the same series of lists. It is kind of, you have to play around with your workflow and figure out what works for you.
Right, it's kind of confusing because it's the same background on both boards. But so like on our unlike our board, as you see, we have this in progress list, and these are kind of projects that we're working on right now. One thing we're considering is maybe, if we want to update redesign the homepage, that's going to be a big project. So we have a separate board for that, and we link to it on our main marketing board. This way, because that's going to be such a big project in itself, we want to have that as a separate board. But yeah, so really, it just depends on kind of what works best for you and your team. Um, what's your take on assigning one task to multiple users? Should it be done? What's the best practice? Uh, I like to do it because I think if you have multiple people working on something, you can this way everyone's going to stay notified. Everyone's going to be up to date, of any actions that occur on that task, and also anyone that's looking at this board can quickly see all the people involved. There's, one thing I might recommend for breaking up a card is, maybe Andre has certain tasks and I have certain tasks. So I could always break up the checklist, you know, um, little things within the task. Maybe Andre is going to read the copy and work on images for something, and I'm going to create a hashtag for Twitter for a campaign. This way we can each keep track of our own separate subtasks, on this card with our own checklist. But if someone wants, to get feedback or something, or um, see quickly who's working on said task, they can see that both of us are there. So that's one way that you can easily kind of break up a card a little bit. I definitely personally think that anyone that's working on a task should probably be at the card. The other option, I guess, is you could have someone kind of manage a task, but then I feel like you lose perspective by seeing at a glance, everyone that's involved with the task. I don't know. What do you think, Michelle?
That sounds about right. Yeah, I guess you kind of have to ensure that people, yeah, if someone's the lead on a task, they know. But I think it's really helpful because then, say I have a question on finalizing guest lists, like probably anyone working on that can answer my question, and then I can just leave a comment on that card, and one of them will get back to me.
Yeah, that's a great point. So let's see. Someone asked, how do you start and add members to a team? So you can add members to a team by start a team by clicking the plus sign. If you want to, so a team, as it says here, it's a great way to just kind of group boards together, whether it's company, team, family, etc. And people that are going to be working on these boards. So you can either create a personal team, Or if you want to sign up for business class, you can create a business team. I'm just going to create a personal team right now. So click that. I can name the team team webinar. If you want to put a description in, you're great. You can add it there. And then I can create boards within my team. So I can add members by then clicking the members tab. And I can add members. You can also invite people to your team by using a quick link. If you want to just quickly add a bunch of people to your team, you can give them the link and they'll add it by clicking it. Or I can just enter, if I know someone's signed up for Trello, I can add them. And of course I can team member at company.com. I can add them via email as well. So those are kind of 3 ways you can add someone to a team. Let's see. Is there any way to permanently delete the activity history? For example, it'd be a good idea for the new hire board.
What I was thinking around this one is something like a new hire board. Well, short answer, no, it's not possible to delete the activity history. But if you have something like a new hire board, and yeah, you don't want everyone to see like all the stuff that's happened on it each time. We definitely suggest like copying that board each time, so you can kind of use a board as a template. You have your new hire board, or a project template, and then you can copy it each time, and that gives you sort of a fresh start with the new board. And I don't know, that lets you have multiple instances based on the people who have access.
Yeah, so if this is the original board that maybe has a bunch of activity, the copied board is only going to have, it'll start here, Brian copied this board from new hire onboarding, and then it'll build its own activity history. So that's probably the best way if you want to clear the activities. Of course, there's comes issues with, by copying a board, you're going to lose out on any comments or any people that were on the board, etc. But when you do copy a board, yeah, all the activity history is removed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Looks like the last question, which is good because we're basically out of time. Oh, can you please go into more detail on how Dropbox or Evernote is integrated with Trello? For example, if I have a Dropbox document attached to a card and I make a change outside of Trello to that document, does Trello know the document changed? Yeah, quick answer is yes. Let me see if I can quickly jump into something here. Sorry about that. Where would I have Dropbox? Okay, I hope that I'm still. That's box. Oh, there you go. So this is actually something I attached via Dropbox. And as you can see, it shows when it was last modified. This is using the business class Powerup, the business class Dropbox Powerup. If I open it, I can go view it in Dropbox. If you just attach something via Dropbox without business class, it's not going to show when the document was last added, modified. The same goes for Evernote. If you have business class, you enable the business class Powerup. As you can see when a note was created in Evernote and when it was last modified. And once again, if you want to see some more information about these Powerups, I go over a lot of them extensively in the Business Class 101 webinar and the Powerups platform webinar. And on our blog, we also have a lot of information about the Powerups with examples. And you can also go to trello.com/-powerups. And you can learn more about all the business class Powerups and how they work. So anyway, it looks like we're about out of time. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any additional questions, anything you think of, you can always email support@trello.com, and we'll answer any of those questions. And like I said, I'll be sending out a recording of this webinar probably sometime in the next 24 hours. And yeah, and also feel free, if you have any feedback on the webinar or if there's any content you'd like to see in future webinars. We're going to be expanding our webinar series and, want to add a lot of content and would love to know kind of what would help you work with Trello the best. So you can always email us support@trello.com with any ideas. And thank you again, everyone. And thank you so much, Michelle, for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Brad, and thanks everyone for coming.
And I hope everyone has a great day. Take
All right.
care.